flying, food, fellowship, and a little history. On this episode of Air Exploration, join me at the first ever Flying Midwest podcast Fly-In at the Tri-County Regional Airport in Lone Rock, Wisconsin. We'll camp out with fellow aviators and friends from across the region, see the restoration of Piper Vagabond Serial number 1, and get a behind-the-scenes look at one of Rich Wellner's cooking videos. I'm setting off from my home airport in Blaine, Minnesota to the first ever Flying Midwest podcast Fly-In. I picked up my first waypoint at St. Paul, Minnesota and continued along a historic U.S. airmail route. The flight is the topic of my last video, but some pointed out that I didn't point out the arrow in Cottage Grove, Minnesota. So in this video, here is the arrow that I missed in the last video that used to guide pilots along this airmail route. If you want to learn more about the airmail route that I followed from St. Paul to Chicago, check out my last video.
Chicago Center, Sun Hunter 6977 Romeo. Airports in sight like to request change to advisory.
And November 6977 Romeo, roger. VFR flight following is terminated. Squawk 1200, you are cleared from center frequency and you can change to advisory. We'll see you later.
Squawk and VFR and then over to advisory for 77 Romeo. Have a good day. Lone Rock traffic, Sun Hunter 77 Romeo. Left base 27, Lone Rock.
You're flying on the left side or the right side of the
Left.
Morning traffic, 706 spinning crosswind, runway 28, mooring.
After about a 2-hour flight, I finally arrived at the Tri-County Regional Airport in Lone Rock, Wisconsin. For years, this airport served as a midway point for pilots traveling between St. Paul and Chicago on the early airmail routes. Today, it'll serve as a hub once more as we host our fly-in. Our listeners from across the Midwest came together for a weekend of aviation, camping, history, and some camaraderie. I was excited to see the number of listeners who flew in or drove in to take part in the event. After I arrived, I took some time to chat with some of the other participants of the fly-in before we took a trip into town for a truly unique dinner experience at a Wisconsin supper club. Complete with a King Arthur decor and a waterfall in the dining room, it was the perfect setting to relax, connect, and share some stories about our flying adventures. After dinner, we'd head back to the airport and our little encampment set up by the ramp. The airport beacon was flashing light across the field and reminding us where we were, a place steeped in aviation history. We settled in by the fire, swapping stories. You know, the kind pilots love to tell. Some true, some, let's just say they've grown over time. The fire crackled, the sky was filled with stars, and somewhere in the distance we could make out the hum of another plane on its way to Madison. It was the perfect way to wrap up the day. Good stories, good company, and the kind of peaceful quiet you only find at a small airport like this. As day breaks over camp, we're greeted by a beautiful sunrise over the Wisconsin hillside. For late August, the temperatures were pretty cool overnight, so a layer of dew covered most things on the field. We had a few things planned as a group throughout the day, but before everyone started moving around, I wanted to explore the airport a bit more. Lone Rock Airport's significance stretches beyond its modern-day role. In its early years, it served as a crucial navigation and communications hub for pilots across the Midwest. Its historic flight service station, now retired, still stands as a testament to that legacy. As I explored the airport a little bit more, I found one of the nicer FBOs I've experienced at a small airport like this. It had a wood-burning stove and wood paneling that gave it a feel like a cabin in northern Minnesota. So as we explore the airport itself, let's explore some of Lone Rock's history. The story of Lone Rock Airport is a journey through nearly a century of aviation history, reflecting its evolution and importance in the region and beyond. Established in 1923, the Lone Rock Airport became a pivotal point for aviation in southwestern Wisconsin. Its strategic location, midway between Minneapolis and Chicago, made it a key site for the airmail service. The airport's designation as an emergency airmail field in 1927 marked a significant milestone. This upgrade came with a host of modernizations, including a flashing beacon, runway lighting, a weather station, and radio equipment. During World War II, Lone Rock Airport played a role in naval flight training operations originating from Chicago, highlighting again its importance as a regional aviation hub. Following the war, the airport came under the control of the Civil Aeronautics Administration. A flight service station was established to provide weather reports and air traffic information, a crucial service for pilots navigating the skies over southwestern Wisconsin. Though there's been some development at the airport, some structures from the late 40s and 50s remain, including the flight service station. The flight service station itself ceased operations in 1983, but the building was later converted into a local airport restaurant, which is where we would dine for breakfast that morning. Today, 2 asphalt runways define the airport's layout, with the longest stretching 5,000 feet. In recent years, the airport faced some challenges, including significant flooding in 2019 and 2020, which damaged several historic structures. Despite this, the airport remains a vital community resource. Modern hangars, a ramp, and the taxiways now complement the historic elements, ensuring that Lone Rock continues to serve general aviation and the broader needs of the Tri-County area. Today it remains a beloved community airport, hosting events like this one and inspiring new generations of aviators. One of the highlights of our visit to Lone Rock was stepping into the Johnson Brothers hangar. These local aircraft restorers are more than mechanics. They're preservationists and historians, breathing life back into airplanes with an incredible attention to detail. Their current project is restoring a Piper Vagabond Serial number 1, the very first of its kind. This isn't just any restoration, it's a labor of love for authenticity.
This is the first, so when Piper was facing bankruptcy, they developed the Piper PA-50, basically to try to use up materials they had on hand or try to turn around or just avoid bankruptcy use. So it was an airplane that just had single controls, no suspension, you couldn't get any more basic. The fellow that Corey mentioned, William Schreiber, he wouldn't even let the company put stripe on the side.
You won't see zip ties or modern conveniences on this aircraft. They use things like period-accurate brass safety wires. Every detail is scrutinized to ensure that the plane is as true as its original 1940s condition as possible. Of course, some concessions do have to be made for practicality. Instead of the original cotton skins, they're using a modern poly material, which is more durable and easier to maintain. But even with those updates, the Vagabond will be a time capsule in the air, a testament to what aviation was like nearly 80 years ago. The Vagabond itself is a fascinating piece of aviation history. Lightweight with shorter wings, and it's surprisingly sporty and performs well for its size. Piper Aircraft developed it during a critical moment in their history. Facing bankruptcy, Piper needed the success, and the Vagabond became a turning point. One of the things that impressed me is that their process is very meticulous. It involves historical images, technical blueprints, and research from aviation books to ensure as much accuracy as possible. It's this dedication that makes their work really stand out. These restorations aren't just about function, they're about preserving a piece of history. Throughout the weekend, certain people would come and go, but we were really excited to have some great people join us. We were joined by Ed Caitland and their pup, Lala, from the Flying Stampede YouTube channel. They arrived in their Piper Tri-Pacer and they were fully loaded up for camping. Of course, we certainly can't forget about Rich Wellner, who really helped us put this event on in the first place. Rich is a great YouTuber in his own right, sharing his unique blend of cooking, camping, and flying. We were lucky enough to get an exclusive, behind-the-scenes look at how Rich Wellner crafts his popular cooking videos, and it was as inspiring as it was mouthwatering. Rich is a pilot who's made his name for himself on YouTube by combining his love of aviation, camping, and gourmet cooking into his unique channel that takes meals on the go to a whole new level. For our fly-in, Rich flew in not just himself, but his trusty wok and all the fresh ingredients we would need to prepare a variety of stir-fries right there at camp. Watching him in action was really fun, and he turned our fly-in dining experience into something none of us will soon forget. While he whipped up this masterpiece, we got to see the magic behind the scenes of his videos. He shared how he organizes his shots, framing each cooking scene and capturing the essence of the outdoor cooking experience. It's really clear how much work goes into his videos, from setting up the perfect angle to keeping shots dynamic. And of course, we couldn't just watch. He put us to work too. The Badger pilot, my partner in crime over at the Flying Midwest podcast, even got to wield a knife, a potentially risky move on Rich's part, but he helped prep some vegetables. There's something really special about contributing to the meal and gathering around to enjoy it, all while camped out at an airport. If you aren't familiar with Rich's work, be sure to check out his channel. I'll put some information down in the description below. Well, as with all good things, this must come to an end as well. I began my trek back to Minnesota. The weekend was winding down, it was time to take to the skies. My return flight offered me just as many stunning views as the way there, of the rolling rural hills of Wisconsin to the Mississippi River Valley. While I continued my flight back, I encountered some wildfire smoke that drifted down from Canada. It gave me some unique hues of lighting as I looked down at the river and the valley below. This fly-in was a great opportunity to connect with some listeners of the podcast, enjoy their friendship and camaraderie, share some stories, and explore the history of the Lone Rock Airport. I want to thank everyone who joined us, especially Rich for setting this up, the Johnson brothers for inviting us in to explore their hangar, and everyone who made this a great event. So as I continue to explore all the great things that aviation can bring us and the history around it, I'd love to hear some ideas from you about where I should go next. If you know a unique destination with some great history behind it, be sure to leave me a comment below, and I'll go check it out. Thank you so much for joining me on this trip to the Lone Rock Airport and the Flying Midwest podcast fly-in. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with your fellow aviation enthusiasts.